Every year you gotta start this video off ominously, so here, let me do it. And then there were two. Nearly a year after the season began, this time last year we were talking about the preseason. The Stanley Cup Final is upon us. Our two teams remaining, the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Dallas Stars. Two teams I was unbelievably wrong about, and I'll tell you why. The Tampa Bay Lightning, well, you all know that story. Last year, heading into the playoffs, the President's Trophy winners, they're up 3-0 to start Game 1 against the Columbus Blue Jackets. The Lightning in 3, we all shouted. We were wrong. Victor Hedman playing with an injury, out of the lineup with an injury, Nikita Kucherov suspended. The Lightning swept by the Columbus Blue Jackets. And last offseason, I just looked at the Lightning and went, are they really going to try to run this back? They traded JT Miller, yeah, but for the most part, all the main parts were there. And what I felt is the Tampa Bay Lightning can't run this back. Because when you lose the way that they lost, something in you, something in that locker room breaks. And I thought about it, and I looked at the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I'm like, you're telling me those players, they look around their locker room at the players they have come so close with and lost with for so many years. You're telling me they're looking around the locker room and they think this group can do it? Not a chance, I thought. And the first 2 months of the season, they were barely clinging on to a playoff spot, out of the playoffs at times. They looked downright human, mediocre. Sometime just before Christmas, they flipped a switch and were one of the most unbeatable forces in the National Hockey League. Andrei Vasilevsky returned to Vezina form. Victor Hedman, Norris form. Braden Point emerging into a superstar. Can the Tampa Bay Lightning really get it done with the right side of Eric Cernak, Kevin Shattenkirk, Zach Bogosian, and Luke Schenn? Sure they can, when their left side is Victor Hedman, Ryan McDonough, and Mikhail Sergachev. Waves, shift after shift of Yanni Gord, that guy tries. The Lightning might get Steven Stamkos back for fun. We haven't even mentioned Nikita Kucherov yet, and Anthony Cirelli, clutch as always, said the man sitting in Oshawa, Ontario, where he won a Memorial Cup in overtime. Well, the goal wasn't scored in Oshawa, it was scored for Oshawa. Don't get into specifics. And now, it seems, for the third time, at least in these playoffs, maybe even the fourth, the Tampa Bay Lightning are in a series where it's advertised as the unstoppable force against the immovable object. Are the Dallas Stars really that? Because I've talked some smack about the Dallas Stars in these playoffs. A defense-first team. And that is something I do still believe. Getting Dallas Stars fans chirping me like, actually, our offense. Clearly you missed the Colorado Avalanche series, many told me. You do not get to lose 2 out of 3 games that Michael Hutchison started and act like you're the 80s Oilers, alright? But to say that the Dallas Stars just crawl into a shell and wait for the game to come to them, I don't think that's true at all. The Columbus Blue Jackets were a little bit more aggressive, but the Tampa Bay Lightning just beat them into submission. Then there were the Bruins, who the Lightning just outclassed. The New York Islanders, watching that was a slog. You cannot call that all offense versus all defense. They were getting like doubled in shots in games that went to double overtime. But watching what Dallas did to Vegas, I just don't think that's how this series is going to go. Dallas's defense is much more mobile. It's much more aggressive. Miro Heiskanen might win the Conn Smythe. Jamie Alexiak scored a beauty on a breakaway, if you're wondering what kind of playoffs these have been like. We all know that the Dallas Stars have this 3-headed monster in Tyler Seguin, Jamie Benn, and Alex Radulov, but we knew they needed more to get far in the playoffs. I picked Denis Gurianov as my breakout player way back in March. I didn't know the rest of these guys were going to show up. Corey Perry, not scoring as much, but always a factor. Joe Pavelski is scoring as much and is very much a factor. And Joel, for goodness sakes, Kiviranta. Wow. And even the little things that they do. Zach Whitecloud putting the puck over the glass, giving the Stars a power play. Oh no! Andrew Cogliano is the one who forced that rush of a play that led to a power play that led to a berth in the Stanley Cup Final. And then there's Anton Khudobin, who's just an amazing story. He was in the Minnesota Wild organization and played behind Nicklas Backstrom, who was a really good goalie for a really long time. Josh Harding was there, looking like the next big thing. He moves on to the Boston Bruins organization, where he is stuck behind Tuukka Rask and Tim Thomas. He does get a chance to back up when Tim Thomas left for some reason. He only plays 14 games in a lockout-shortened year in Boston. Goes to Carolina, and he's behind Cam Ward, but there's an injury and an opportunity leading to a better opportunity the next season, where he falters a bit. All right, maybe he's not ready for it. He moves on to the Anaheim Ducks organization, where he's behind Frederik Andersen and John Gibson. Can someone get this guy a break? Sure, we can get him a break. He goes back to Boston. He's behind Tuukka Rask again. But then this goaltender, who's almost always put up solid numbers, but never been a starter in the National Hockey League, finds the ideal situation. Playing alongside Ben Bishop, who we know is one of the best goalies in the NHL, but is he always going to be available? And for the past 2 seasons, they've been one of the most unbeatable tandems in the league. So when Ben Bishop went down with injury in these playoffs, why were we shocked that Anton Khudobin would step in and be Anton Khudobin? This isn't Antti Niemi coming in and saving the Chicago Blackhawks out of nowhere. This is a goalie who's been putting up work, putting up numbers for a decade or more now, and we're only now paying attention. So, who wins? Speaking of the Chicago Blackhawks, anyone remember the 2015 Stanley Cup Final, which featured the Tampa Bay Lightning? They had a lot of injuries, which they were in goal, so that was a big deal. Ben Bishop, ironically. With Steven Stamkos, may or may not play. Braden Point is obviously playing injured. I'm being reminded of 2015 when they were so unstoppable, but then Tyler Johnson goes down and he's playing hurt, and they just didn't have the same pop. And despite the fact that the Lightning beat the Islanders in 6 games, they didn't take 7, there is no rest because of this wild situation that we're in. In fact, this Stanley Cup Final could feature games on back-to-back nights, because I don't know what the Tampa Bay Lightning are playing with. Because the parts of their team that could potentially be missing are so huge, and because the Dallas Stars seem to just prove it over and over and over again, and they've had a few extra days to lick their wounds, I'm going to pick the Dallas Stars for the 2020 Stanley Cup. Now, if Tampa Bay wins, will I be surprised? No. I've been wrong lots in these playoffs. You're forgetting how hockey works, I think. Steve, you think Dallas is better than Tampa? I didn't say that. I just said I thought they'd win. There is a difference. Yeah, this ought to start a nice fight there in the comment section. Does the best team win the Stanley Cup every year? I know my answer. So, what do you think? Who do you think is going to win the Stanley Cup this year? I got Dallas in 6. I'm going to say Dallas in 6. So, that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell all your friends that we're about to award one of the wildest Stanley Cups ever.